What do we mean by controlling for a variable in statistics? We call this statistical control, and we use it, for example, when discussing results in multiple regression, when we discuss the effects of various independent variables or factors on a dependent variable, and we say or we speak in the terms of the effect of this one variable controlling for, and then we mentioned the other variables. So what exactly are we doing when we control for statistically? In order to discuss that, let's first discuss a more familiar concept that we might have, which is experimental control or control by design. And what we mean by this is when we have experimental control, this occurs from the get-go when we're designing the study. Let's say, for example, that we wanted to look at what the signs and symptoms of a heart attack were, and we wanted to see what that was in males and females. But we got into the literature and we realized that there's a more focus on signs and symptoms of a heart attack in males than females. So what we decide is, by design, we're only going to look at females. When we do this, what we've done essentially is we're controlling for, or we're holding gender or sex constant. We're excluding the effects that that variability might have because we're only looking at one sex. In this instance, we're just going to look at females, and we're not going to count the effect of males. That is experimental control. Another example could be for example, in a lab experiment where we first start off with two groups of, let's say, mice, and we want to test the effect of a certain drug or a certain treatment on one group, and we're going to not give that drug or treatment to another group. In other words, what we're doing here is we're holding mouseness, or the effect of being a mouse, constant, and where we are, the group that we're using we're testing our substance on, we're going to call that the experimental group, and the other group is going to be called the control group, because that group is going to help us evaluate what the changes, what the effects and were of only the one factor that was different, that is the substance or the treatment. So we're not going to count any random variability for mouseness. We're going to exclude that. We're going to hold that constant, and the only change that we should be able to measure here, we can assign it just to that substance. Okay, so that's what we mean by controlling for with statistical with excuse me, experimental control, or controlling by design. But what if this is after you've gathered the data, and now you wanted to see the effect of just one variable on another variable? And one of the tools that we have is multiple regression, in which you're looking here, represented by y, at your dependent variable and the effect of multiple independent variables or factors, represented here by x. The Each of them is accompanied by a beta, and the beta is the unique influence that each of these factors has on the dependent variable. So when we apply statistical control, what we're saying is we are looking at the effect of each and every one of these independent variables or factors individually on the dependent variable, holding everything else constant. That is, not counting the effect of the other independent variables, not counting the effect of the other factors, excluding any effect from the other factors. That's what we mean by statistical control.